Hello my friends, in this video we'll be taking a look at VK549, which is a Viking Age DNA sample from Estonia from Saaremaa. Now this sample's Y lineage is IP109, which is I1A. You can see with my trait predictor it's determined to be I1, and his mitochondrial lineage, let's see, is T2B. Very, very interesting. Now, with G25, his closest populations are Danes, Swedes, and Icelandic people. So he is Germanic. He's not similar to Estonians or Finnish people out of Somali, even though he is from Estonia. If you look at the location of the sample, it is from Saaremaa in Estonia, Salme in Estonia. But despite the location of this Viking sample where he's from, he's still genetically Scandinavian. He's still genetically Northern Germanic. Let's look at the single mode population breakdown. Let's limit that to 4 populations, see what he scores. And he is scoring a mixture of Danish, Icelandic, and a little bit of Lithuanian. So the fact that he scores a little bit of Lithuanian means that maybe there was a little bit of admixture with native population where he was from, but he is still overwhelmingly Germanic, um, overwhelmingly Northwestern European. So he's not really admixed with Balts or Finno-Ugric people. Let's go ahead and look at what he scores with Trait Predictor. We're going to start with Nashakot, and let's see what he scores for pigmentation and phenotype. So it looks like his predicted eye color is green at 49.3% likelihood. There's also a pretty large percentage odds for blue eyes with a neighbor center. Let's scroll past. There is a pretty large odds for light brown hair at 43% odds. Also pretty large odds for dark blonde hair at 28% odds. Significant odds for dark brown hair as well. And pretty insignificant odds for light blonde, red, or black hair. For skin color, he's scoring white skin tone. There is also pretty significant odds for palest skin, and 3% odds for olive skin, and for light brown and dark brown skin, that's pretty much insignificant. Very unlikely he would have this skin tone. For hair texture, he is scoring curly or wavy hair. And for nose shape, he's actually scoring a snub shaped nose at 79% likelihood odds. So he most likely has a snub shaped nose. Not very much Greek, not very much long, aquiline, and narrow. Instead, probably more upturned, short, and wide. Let's look at coloring related variants found in this file. So it looks like he's got 2 light color variants here, 2 light color variants in all these variations. So that's already a sign that he's probably quite light in terms of eye color. He's got light color variants here, and 1 light color variant here. So once again, having BEH1 and 2 and heterozygous for BEH3, we can already know that this individual is probably going to have very light eye color. But he doesn't have a genotype for this variation, for BEH2. So this actually tells us that if we ran this file for YSEC phenotype predictor, it would not predict us an eye color. It would give us a result with sunglasses, because they can't predict eye color without this variation being present in the file. That's just one of their flaws. They can't predict eye color. If this single variation is not in the file, they cannot predict eye color, which is very flawed in my opinion. Um, let's scroll further, because you can even predict the genotype here by genotypes that are close by. For example, from this genotype, you can impute the genotype here, but they don't do that. They don't do imputation. Let's scroll further. We have 2 light color variants in SLC24A5, which is very indicative of light pigmentation. We have 2 light color variants in all the SLC45A2 variations, which is also indicative of light pigmentation. We don't have the hunter-gatherer, red hair, pale skin, and blue eyes variant in IRF4. We do not have the blonde Kitoji variant that's quite irrelevant. It's not a very big impact, but I do still look for it, and it does play a role in the calculation in my trade predictor. So this individual doesn't carry the variant here, and looks like no ginger variants in MC1R. All right, so I'm not gonna run him through trade predictor because it's pretty obvious what they're gonna score. They're gonna score white skin, blonde hair, and blue eyes, based on what we see here. But I'm gonna leave I'm gonna publish this result online, and if you want to run him through through Snipper 3, you can do that. Let's go ahead and look at Phenotype Oracle, and the closest phenotypes is this. So this is the closest phenotype, which is a phenotype that's corded Nordic phenotype with looks like green eyes, followed by this, which is a corded Nordic phenotype with blue eyes, followed by this, which is a Baltic phenotype. And for the mixture of phenotypes, let's look at that. Looks like the closest mixture is a mixture of Baltic plus corded Nordic. Right, so the closest mixture is a Baltic plus corded Nordic. And what I did actually with this mixture is I went to this website, facemorph.me, and I morphed corded Nordic with Baltic. By the way, you might be wondering, why does the starting morph look already slightly different from the phenotype that you saw on the page, on the phenotype page? That's because this app, this facemorph.me app, already slightly changes the phenotype when you upload it there. It slightly changes the face. So that's why these morphs, when I make them for my videos, I do edit them a little bit afterwards. After facemorph.me gives me a morph, I do edit them afterwards to make sure they reflect the reality of the phenotype a little bit better. All right, let's look at biomarkers results. So it looks like he is scoring lower levels of vitamin D. He is scoring higher levels of LDL cholesterol, which is bad for cardiovascular health. Lower levels of HDL cholesterol, which is bad again. Lower levels of glucose, which is good. Average levels of hemoglobin, which is good. Average blood pressure. Lower levels of iron in the blood, so he does not have hemochromatosis. He's got lower levels of sex-hormone binding globulin in blood. Slightly higher than average level of red blood cell count in blood, which is good. Slightly lower than average base pairs, so slightly shorter telomere length, and slightly longer than average height, slightly taller height. Okay, let's close that. Now let's look at the polygenic risk scores, and we'll be done with this video. I'm not gonna go over the monogenic stuff with you. So it looks like he has lower odds of kidney stones, looks like he has lower odds of arrhythmia nodosum, looks like he has very low odds of hemoglobin E disease, and no risk variants are found for hemoglobin E disease. Looks like he has low odds for migraine. Looks like he has average odds for lupus, low odds for gout. Looks like he has very low odds for eczema. Looks like he has low odds for polycystic ovary syndrome, average odds for cataracts, high odds for age-related macular degeneration. Excuse me. Average odds for rheumatoid arthritis. Looks like he has average odds for Tourette's. Looks like he has high odds for epilepsy, which is very interesting. High odds for epilepsy for somebody who's Germanic, who's Northern Germanic, is very surprising because this condition is uncommon for Northern Europeans. He has average odds for asthma, which is a condition that's common for, well, not common, but it is more common in Northern Europeans than other ethnicities. He has average or below average odds for leukemia, which is another condition that's more common for Northern Europeans than other ethnicities. He has a higher odds for vitiligo, and he has a low odds for myopia. Now, myopia is a condition that Europeans have sort of a protection from. So this is very interesting that he has a below average odds for myopia. Looks like he has a average odds for corneal astigmatism, a low score for primary biliary cirrhosis, a below average odds for stroke, a slightly higher than average odds for male pattern hair loss, a below average odds for atrial fibrillation, a average score for deep vein thrombosis, a very low score for cardiovascular issues. Wow, that's very interesting. So he's definitely got some protection from cardiovascular issues. He's got a average score for ADHD, above average score for unipolar depression. He's got a above average score for bipolar type 1, above average for schizophrenia, high score for type 2 diabetes, high score for type 1 diabetes, and actually he's got a risk variant here in HLA gene. Let's actually scroll up a little bit. I think this is not ADCY2. Is this ADCY2? Let's see, hold on. Is this ADCY2? He's heterozygous at ADCY2, so this is not ADCY2. This is something else. This is something else, no. So this is something that if you receive in your result and you don't understand what gene this is from, you should probably look this up. You see this red flag in your result, it means it's a big contribution to the score, and you should look this up. Looks like he has very high odds for Alzheimer's, so he probably carries the APOE risk variance for Alzheimer's, and he has low odds for multiple sclerosis. 1 risk variance for breast cancer out of 20. Very high odds for prostate cancer, so he probably scores high for the 8q24 gene panel. Average odds for glioma, brain cancer, and low odds for thyroid cancer. He's got 4 JAK2 risk variants out of 10 total found in the file. So he does have some predisposition to polycythemia vera. He's got 11 risk variants for testicular cancer out of 20, and in fact, he's got homozygous risk genotype in KITL G here. Now, I do want to look up his KITL G genotype and see if that's only one. There is only one SNP that was found. So the question I had in mind is that does he have only one risk genotype? Does he have only one variation where he's got homozygous risk genotype, or does he have one variation where he's got a homozygous risk genotype and then 2 variations where he's got protective genotype? So that's what I wanted to figure out. I wanted to look that up because there's a very big distinction. Is this something that's just not found in the file, or is it something that's just he does have in the file, but he has a protective genotype in? So that's why you have to sometimes when you look at these panels, you have to look it up in the main panel and see if it's there. Not sure if I did a good job of explaining this. He has 2 risk variants for celiac disease out of 8, out of 10, pretty good, and 4 risk variants for Crohn's out of 24. None of them are marked as important, so that's pretty typical. He has 1 risk variant for Parkinson's. Okay, very interesting. That's unusual. This is an unusual risk variant. This is very uncommon. He also has 2 risk variants for hypopastasia out of 16 total. This is probably a miscall. These risk variants that are unusual and uncommon are most likely miscalls because it's very unlikely for somebody to carry risk variants in these variations. So many risk variants for these so many rare conditions. It's unlikely to carry this much pathogenic stuff for somebody. So my conclusion is that these risk variants are all miscalls. But it is interesting that he does carry all these miscalls in his raw DNA file. All right. Let's close that. And finally, I guess I want to go over blood type as well. That's something I talk about in every video. So the most likely blood type for him is actually type B. Let's zoom in. The most likely blood type for him is type B at 45.8% likelihood. But type A and type O are also quite likely at 32.6 and 21.3% odds. It's quite difficult to predict what his actual blood type is. What we know for sure is he doesn't have blood type AB. Blood type AB is completely out of the picture. But out of O, A, and B, it's most likely his blood group is type B. But it just kind of is difficult to determine more precisely what it is based on his genome. Anyway, I will be publishing this this trait predictor result. I will be publishing this page on GitHub pages. So if you wanted to look over this stuff and see what he scores for all of these conditions and all of these panels and all of these traits that are included on the main page, and there's so much stuff to go over. I can't really put that into a short video. You can explore that by looking in the link that's in the description of the video. In the description of the video will also be the link to buy the raw DNA file of this sample, and also there will be a link to purchase my trait predictor executable, which you can use to generate reports just like this for your own raw DNA files, and um, in MyHeritage 23andMe or Ancestry DNA format. And thanks for watching. Make sure you leave a like and share. Goodbye.